There's great news on Trump's tariffs after America was afraid of empty shelves and U.S. ports. But what is so worrisome about the U.S. economy, although there is a cooling period after an agreement between U.S. and China's trade talk? Hello guys, it's me again, John. Welcome to this channel. So I am a licensed enrolled agent and I specialize in e-filing individual tax returns, especially those who are self-employed, but I am able to e-file every type of taxes. So you can check out my website here and then scan the QR code and check more information if you're interested in tax services. So in this channel, I will be sharing current events, topics, finance and taxes, basically everything interesting that I will be here to share with you. So today about the great news on tariffs. So currently, we all know that there has been an agreement between US and China. A lot of holidays are coming up soon, whether it be Memorial Day, especially 4th of July or Independence Day, with 90% of fireworks are said to be imported from China. And especially Christmas, Black Friday, all the deals, toys and everything, which we won't be able to find on shelves if tariffs continue to be 145% on China's imported goods. So the US and China agreed to drastically roll back tariff in the major trade breakthrough. Their agreement was on May 12, 2025, Switzerland local time, where their negotiations meetings were held. This agreement is held for a 90-day cooling period, and this breakthrough was a surprise to everyone, which would de-escalate a punishing trade war. Global investors are said to be happy about the news that both sides, US and China, agree to lower the so-called reciprocal tariffs by 115 percentage points for 90 days. This means that the US will lower its overall tariffs on Chinese goods from 145% to 30%, and China will cut its levies on U.S. imported goods from 125% to 10%. And the mutual tariff revisions will be imposed by May 14, 2025. Although there is a temporary cut on tariffs on overall Chinese goods that will be imposed by the 14th of May 2025, the tariff that is imposed on fentanyl related imported into the US from China that was imposed around February and March will stay. So most goods imported from China is temporarily cut to 30%. So we're going to see some reports what happened to the US economy right after when the high tariffs on China's imported goods went into effect. The high tariffs as high as 145%. And although there is a 90-day cooling period and tariffs on China's imported goods are lowered to 30% as of now, what's still worrisome about what's going to happen to the US economy? Like, can there still be a recession by the end of 2025? So right when the high tariffs on China's imported goods went into effect, America's GDP showed its first quarterly contraction ever since early 2022 as importers rushed to bring in goods before the punishing tariffs went into effect. So we'll have to continue to see that after the 90-day period, what the discussions and agreement on tariffs will be like. Like, will it continue to be at the 30% tariffs rate on overall China's imported goods, or will it go back to the high percentage of 145%? There was a quote from the article that the two sides, both US and China, agreed to continue to discuss about the economic and trade relations. Based on the most recent article on Fox News on May 13, 2025, Trump had detailed the most exciting part of the China trade agreement. So after marking the first 100 days of his second term, President Donald Trump is showing no sign of slowing down as his administration rakes in more historic accomplishments, including a trade truce with China. This is based on the article. A quote from him is, "I've been busy, but I've enjoyed it because we're getting things accomplished. We're getting things done." Trump had told Fox News host Sean Hannity on Tuesday. As for the article from CNBC News on May 12, 2025, as for China, they see the U.S. trade deal as a huge win for Beijing. It is stated that China is casting the trade agreement with the U.S. as a victory. After 2 days of negotiation with U.S. officials, China got Trump administration to roll back its 145% It is said to have all but halted bilateral trade. In the eyes of the Chinese public, negotiators from Beijing appear to have convinced President Donald Trump's administration to roll back most of the 145% tariff rate that Trump imposed and slash them to 30%. In exchange, China pledged to roll back most of the counter tariffs it announced against the US. On social media, Chinese users are touting the deal. One hashtag, US-China suspending 24% tariffs within 90 days, already has 420 million views on Weibo. The US-China trade deal has brought temporary relief from the escalating trade war roiling the global economy. Stock markets across the world surged Monday after Beijing and Washington announced the deal. While the temporary easing of tariffs between the US and China has alleviated some immediate economic pressure, several factors including slowing growth, market volatility, currency depreciation, ongoing trade disputes, and declining consumer confidence continue to pose risks to the American economy. So what else is worrisome to the US economy right now? Although there is a cool down period after the US-China agreement and trade talk. So the first thing to be worried about is the slowing economic growth. The US economy is said to be exhibiting signs of deceleration. Economists anticipate GDP growth to slow to 1.9% in 2025, down from 2.8% in 2024. So this means that the economy is growing more slowly. This slowdown is partly attributed by the impact of tariffs, which have increased costs for American companies and consumers, which potentially dampens consumers' spending. The source is from S&P Global CBS News. Also, the US dollar has weakened, with the dollar index falling by 8% since the beginning of the year. Foreign investors has withdrawn approximately $63 billion from US equities within 2 months, raising concerns about the country's ability to finance its growing deficits. Some analysts has warned of potential recession by the end of 2025 if these trends persist. Earlier in 2025, the stock market experienced turbulence due to the heightened trade tension. There's also possible trade tensions with Canada and Mexico. Aside from China, the US has imposed tariffs on Canada and Mexico, leading to fears of supply chain disruptions and increased consumer prices. The measures have sparked concerns about inflation and job losses in sectors reliant on North American trade. Aside from that, there's also consumer confidence declining and economic consequences like job losses, also reduced consumer spending due to reduced income and spending less due to job insecurity. Also, the declining stock market due to investor uncertainty and lower corporate earnings, which may lead to falling stock prices. 401ks and IRAs could take a hit. House prices may drop as fewer people can afford to buy, although those who are ready can potentially benefit when the economy faces a recession. For example, when interest rates are low and house prices drop, those who have enough in savings and would like to invest, or maybe it's their chance to finally buy a home, but mostly the outcome of the nation as a whole. A lot of people faces more of a negative outcome than benefiting from this. So rare chance is someone who is ready to invest when the economy has like lower interest rates, like ready to buy a home when the interest rates were low. This happened during 2020 as well. Some people got homes when the mortgage rates were really low. Other possibility of the housing market slowdown, there may be higher delinquencies or mortgage delinquencies among those with the variable rate loan. Although the trade deal has been partially resolved, meanwhile, for the 90-day cooling period, there may be other economic things the US may be concerned about, like possible recession, because there are a variety of points that we might have to keep an eye on, what I just mentioned, and also the everyday effects on people. There may still be higher layoffs, fewer job opportunities, slower wage growth or wage freezes, more people relying on public assistance program, also a greater financial pressure on small businesses and low-income households. There may also be government and policy impact, like increased government spending. Government might pass out stimulus packages like direct payments tax breaks or business aid to help stabilize the economy. There may also be rising national debt because the stimulus efforts and lower tax revenue could potentially widen the federal budget deficit. So if there's going to be a negative impact on the economy that is going to worsen, there may also be political pressure. Economic pain may also lead to public discontent. This could become a major issue in the 2026 midterm elections or the 2028 presidential race. Alright guys, that's all I have to share with you guys today. Well, thanks for tuning in and hope to see you in the next video. I'll see you guys soon.